All right, so we are enjoying some wonderful fall weather today. Hello. So I'm Park Bum-soon. I will be the MC for today's event. So I'm glad to meet you all. So I'm Park Bum-soon. I will be the MC for today's event. So I'm glad to meet you all.
그 본격적으로 시작하기에 앞서 저도 이제 마이크를 잡았으니까 간단하게 말씀을 드리면은 저기 이쪽은 현장 추천을 위한 간담회를 준비하고 그리고 또 진행
제가 말하는 게 딜레이가 돼서 다시 들어오거든요.
여러 가지 의견들을 수집하는 과정에서 제가 느낀 거 한 가지만
제가
말씀드리겠습니다.
말하는 게
정말
딜레이가 돼서 다시 들어오거든요.
교수님들이
제가 말하는
정말
게 딜레이가
많은
돼서 다시
교수님들이
들어오거든요.
하고 싶은 말씀이 많았구나. 그래서 이런 간담회
제가
그리고
말하는
Q&A
게
그리고
딜레이가 돼서 다시
이번
들어오거든요.
주에 있을 토론회가 이런 의견들을 서로 나눌 수 있는 그런 소중한 장소가 될 거라는 그런 생각이 들었고요. 그러면서 정말 훌륭한 지적도 그리고 또 의견도 많았었는데 또 다른 한편으로는 많은 또 우려를 말씀하시는 분들도 또 계셨습니다. 이렇게 우리가 열심히 하는데 정말 잘 될 건가? 뭐 이런 걱정하시는 분들도 있었는데 거기에 대해서 저는 이런 생각을 하게 됐습니다. 미래는 오는 게 아니라 만들어가는 거고 그리고
Because
여기서
we're
시간이
trying
지나면
to create the
서로가 바뀌는
future.
것입니다. 라는 생각을 하면서 지금 이 자리가 하나의 역사를
And so
쓰는
this
거라고
place is the
생각합니다.
place where we are in the
그리고
process of
우리가
writing our
수정을
history.
가지고 하는 그런 과정이고 비록 우리가 김밥 한 쪽밖에 없는
So
그런
even though we
조직이지만
only have
그래도 풍성한
one
아이디어와
kibbap given
그리고
to the people who have participated
관심과
in
그다음에
offline, but
적극적
however,
분위기를 이어갈 수
I
있었던
feel
그런
like
생각이
we can
듭니다.
still continue
이게
on with
중요한
this
거는
like festive
뭐겠습니까?
vibes.
스피커입니다.
And
그래서
what do you
여러분들
think is
이
the
자리에
main
오신
point
분들 그리고
of today's meeting? Today's meeting is
유튜브로
for
보시는 분들
voting
모두
the
투표할 거라고 생각이 되는데
presidential
본인들만 투표하지
candidates.
않고 주위에 계신 다른 분들도 꼭 투표를 하실 수
And
있도록
I would like
준비를
to ask you
해주시면
to vote
감사하겠습니다.
and also encourage the others
간단히
around you
안내 말씀을
to vote.
드리면요.
So let me give you a few
지금
announcements.
우리 대화가 다 동시 통역이 되니까
So currently,
키보드에서 키를 누르시면 될 거고
the current
현장에는 외국인 교수님들이 안 오셨는데
scene is being
교수님들도 충분히 말씀하실
being
수 있도록
translated, and it's being also offered in through the English service. So please turn on the right
시작을
button
하도록
through
하겠습니다.
the Zoom online.
먼저 후보자님들께서 간략하게
So first, I would like to invite our
해주시겠습니다.
candidates to
네,
introduce
후보 2번
themselves. So
김정호입니다.
I'm number
쟤는
2,
앞자리에 앉아
Kim
있지만
Jung-ho. I am
1번이지만
sitting right in the
기호는
front.
2번이라는 거
So even though I'm sitting
혼동하지
right in the
마시고요.
front, I'm number 2,
오늘 그
candidate number 2.
교수 협의회 또 총추위 여러분께
So I would
감사드립니다.
like to
간단히
thank
제 생각
everyone in the
말씀드리면
KAIST Faculty
카이스트가
Council
이제
as well
도약할
as
때다.
the Presidential Candidates
패러다임의
Election
변화,
Committee for
사회적 변화,
hosting this
이견
meeting.
우리가 도약할
And
필요가
so
있다.
I feel like the
개인전환의
first thing
이룰
is
때다.
that it is now
투자하고
time for
소통하는
us
문화
to leap
그런 거를
forward.
제가
And the
꼭
second thing
실현해
is
보고
that we
싶습니다.
need to do some
오늘
to make this
교수님들
whole
말씀을
process
열심히
transparent.
경청하겠습니다.
So that is what I am trying to do. And so I'm right here to candidly listen to other candidates' words as well. Good morning, everyone. I'm number 3, Ru Seogyung, and Park Bom-soon professor has said we are in the process of writing our own new history, and so it would be great if we could write down another good history, and I want this time to be a happy and joyful time together for our professors. And through these times, I am learning a lot from other two candidates. And I want this time for us to, grow together and have this opportunity to grow together. Good morning. I am Bae Chung-sik from the Department of Mechanical Engineering, and I'm candidate number 1. And the reason why I am candidate number 1, it was because I was sitting right in the front last time we had this Q&A session, but this time we have rotated, exchanged our seats. So even though I'm the candidate number 1, that I am sitting on the far right. So I believe that in detail that we may differ, but I believe that the big pictures that we are trying to, draw are the same as the candidates. And we would like to unite our wishes together so that we could leap forward and, open the new future for us. Thank you very much.
All right, so for today's meeting, we will be hearing from the floor. We want to hear the opinions of our professors. So we will be using a lot of time, giving the mic to the floor. But before that, we wanted to have the candidates, some of the professors that they wanted to hear briefly the agendas of the candidates. So we took a little time to do that. And last time, we had many department heads sharing their opinions and recommendations. But today, we want to hear more about the new faculty and the faculty who have recently joined us. All right, so who would like to begin the discussions?
안녕하세요. 반갑습니다.
Hello.
네. 네. 전 현재
Hello, I am
여성교수협의회
currently
부회장을 맡고
the
있는
vice head
김민정입니다.
of the Female Professor
신입원은 아닌데요.
Council. I am not a new
새
faculty.
후보님들께
So
질문을
for the
드릴
three
기회가 있어서 정말
professors,
좋습니다.
I am very glad to have this
공통 질문을
opportunity
하나
to
드리고 싶습니다.
ask a question to the three
먼저
candidates.
여성교수협의회에
So first of all,
서면 질의서를 보내드렸는데
I sent
모두
you
답변을 잘
in
해주셔서
writing
감사합니다.
some questions
보내주신
from
내용은
the Female
여성
Professor
교수님들께
Council,
잘
and you all received.
전달되었습니다.
And I received
이
some great
서면
answers from our
질의와
candidates, so
지난
I
간담회를
shared them with
통해서
our council members.
후보님들께서는
And
여성교원 지원 및
so when it
리더십 강화,
comes to
여학생
supporting
지원,
female
성평등 문화 조성 등
faculty and
여러
creating
중요한 사안에
a
대해서
gender
의견을
equal
주셨습니다.
campus, you
이와
have given us many
관련하여
of your
후보님들께서
thoughts and plans.
가장 중요하게 생각하시는
So
비전과
what is the most
최우선
important
추진
vision and
계획을
what is your
말씀해
first
주시면
priority plan when it
감사하겠습니다.
comes to the issue of gender equality? All right, so we would like to go on to the next question. All right, so you can speak on a similar issue, or we could bring up a new issue.
네, 안녕하십니까. 저
Hello,
바이오민내공학과 김필남입니다.
I am
이번에도
Gipillam
제가
from
두
Bio
번째
and Brain
질문자가
Engineering.
되는
So I think I am the second
비슷한
question, like the
질문도
first
급하게
meeting.
생각을 해서
So
제가 그 전에 가지고 있던 생각이랑 같이 여쭤보고
So I
싶습니다.
want to add
그
on
많은
to what
경우에 이제
to a question I had
여성
before.
혹은 여성
So when it
교수라든지
comes to the
여학생이라든지 이런
female
그
faculty or
프레임을
students,
쓰고 그 보직이라든지 아니면은 다양한 봉사를 하게 되는데
so
그
professors
봉사의
often serve in
어떤
many positions
특징이
or volunteer
여성의
positions at
업무에
KAIST.
되게 집중되어 있습니다.
But I think the
케어라든지
kind of roles that are given
그런
to the
부분에
female
그래서
faculty
그런
are roles that have
관련된
to do with
그런
caring. So there
여성이라고 하는
are what you
프레임에
would call the
대해서
typically
어떻게
feminine roles.
좀 가지고 계신
So I
철학을
would like to know the
공유하시면
philosophy
좋을
you
것
have
같고요.
of
사실상
the kind
이번에 그
of work
네이처의
expected of our female
인덱스의 그
faculty.
카이스트의
Also in the
현황에
Nature
대해서 굉장히
Index,
디테일하게 나왔었는데
there are a lot
카이스트뿐만이
of
아니라
details about the current
대한민국의
status of
과학기술
KAIST, and
기관들의
not just KAIST, but
그런
all science and
여성의 어떤
technology
롤이란 혹은
institutions,
여성의
and
그
the role
사회적
of
진출이
the
충분히
status of
이루어지고 있는
their female
상황에서도
members.
그런
And I
여성과
think in many
남성의
aspects there
그런
are
구분된 역할과
there is a
구분된
divide
그런
between the roles that are given to the
가치의
male
차별 하는
members and
것에
the
대한
female
가치의 차별을 받고 있는 그런
members,
현황들이
and I
굉장히
think there
디테일하게
is a
나와 있는데
and they talk about the
그런 것들에
discrimination that is
대해서
given
카이스트는 어떤 방향을
when it comes
추구해야
to determining
하는지
the value of these
공정인지
members.
공평인지
So, what is
평등인지
KAIST looking for? Are you looking for
카이스트가
equality
추구해야
or
되는 그런
equity
여성과
or
남성의
fairness?
어떤 과학자로서의 롤에 어떤
And
방향을 추구해야
what
되는지에
is the
대해서
role?
말씀해
What is
주시면
the type
감사하겠습니다.
of scientist that KAIST is looking for? So we will continue to hear from the floor. So we have plenty of time today, and you can talk. Can give you a lot of time to talk. So you can also give some background as to what you want to ask. So in my class, when I do Q&A, I sometimes just pick out students who ask questions. And you can also ask, if you're on Zoom, you can ask questions. If you're on Zoom, please, you can just turn on your mics and ask the question. So there's a familiar face. So I would like to call on Professor Im Dae-sik. All right, thank you for joining us. Do you have any comments or questions for the candidates?
일단 이렇게 용기 있게
So first of all,
총장님으로
thank you
세 분 나와주셔서
for
감사합니다. 보통 일이
running as
아닌데
candidates for the
굉장히
president.
큰 봉사를 할
And
수
I know
있는
that it's a
커미티를 하는
role,
거거든요.
it's a really big commitment
그래서
to
그
be the
용기에
president of
일단
KAIST. So
동의를
I would like to
표하고요.
applaud your
제가 뭐
courage.
특별하게 뭐 다른 질문은
I don't have
이렇게
any
하지는 않을
special
텐데
questions.
일단은
What
희망사항으로는
I do
교협에서
hope
하시는
is
분이
that
실제로 교수님들의
someone
의견과
is one of
학생들의
the
의견을
candidates that is
그
recommended by the
어떤
faculty
그
council become
반영할 수
the
있는
president,
그런
and
후보자가
I
결국은
think
총장이
that a
되었으면
candidate
좋겠다.
that can really
제가
reflect the
20년
needs
넘게 여기
and demands
있었었는데
of
그런 경우가
KAISTians
딱 한 번
should
있었던
be
것
the
같아요.
president. I think in all my time at KAIST, there was
물론
only
일이
one
바뀌긴
time when
했지만은 그래서
a
이번에
candidate
그렇게
that was
대하면
recommended by the
되는
faculty
그런
council became
했으면
the
좋겠다는
KAIST
거고요.
president.
제 개인적으로는 한
Personally,
가지 이제 부탁을 드리고
I
싶은
want
경우는
I have a request.
이렇게 20년 동안 이렇게 쭉
So I've
지켜봤거든요. 20년
been at
전에
KAIST for
제가
20
교수
years,
됐을 때와
and looking at
지금
when I
됐을
first
때
came,
물론
KAIST as a
양적으로나
professor,
질적으로
and even now, if you compare it,
if
KAIST has grown immensely in both terms of both quantity and quality. We have more people, we have more buildings.
생각을 해보면
The campus has become very full. And when I came here as a professor,
쥐장도 필요로 하고 그 당시에 이제 정착비 5천만 원에
I received
댕그러니
50 million for the settlement to help me settle and some open space for my lab. And 20 years have passed since then.
여전히
And still,
교수님을 신인 교수님이 왔었을 때
when a new professor comes to
정착비라는 게
KAIST,
물론 그
they also
당시에보다
receive the fees for
늘어난
their
거예요. 금액적으로는
adaptation and settling at KAIST. But if you think about inflation, I don't think the amount of money they get is that much compared to what I received 20 years ago. And also, we don't have the space prepared and then appoint the new professor. The professor, they have to, design. They have to do everything themselves to set up a lab. And I think today at KAIST, I don't think we've really developed that much in terms of human resources, and it's not clear what kind of procedures they need to take to set up the lab and how much research funding they will receive. And they don't really get that information, I think, compared to when I first came to KAIST. So I think in terms of the system, we have a very primitive system when it comes to the supporting new faculty. So for them to come up with new ideas, we want to make sure that they receive the technical support so that they can come right away and begin the work and work with their students. But of course, we have the equipment, but they need that technical support to actually operate those machines and maintain the machines. So for example, in my lab, we use the microscopes. Some are very cheap, some are very expensive. We need a professional who know how to manage and use these microscopes. But in the United States, they have that kind of personnel. At KAIST, we have the equipment. We don't have the personnel to support that kind of work. So I think the biggest issue is that one of the biggest problems is that the faculty, when the new faculty come, they can't start their research right away because we lack the human personnel support. And compared to 20 years ago, if you look at the student on the KAIST scholarship and the government scholarship, the amount of scholarship they get isn't really a lot. And each lab, the amount that the student receives is different by lab. And in some labs, the student don't receive a lot of money.
월급이 달랐지는 않았을 것 같습니다.
And I
미국
think
학생이나 중국 학생이나 외국
20 years
학생이나
ago,
똑같았습니다.
and
지금
also for the
학생에
international
대한 거는
students, when I was
학생이
studying
근본적인
abroad, the
목적은
amount of money received
교육과
was the
트레이닝으로
same.
좋은 인력을
The reason we give the
지원하는
students, we
건데
give the stipend is
이게
to provide them so that they
예산의
can focus
문제겠죠.
fully on their research
예산의
and
문제긴
studies. So
하지만
I know
그런
that this
철학이
is a
없었던 게
budgetary
아니에요. 그래서
issue,
이제
but I think
정부에서도
we need
그렇고
some kind of
학교에서도
philosophy backing,
스타이펜드를 해서
how we will use the
모든
stipend.
학생들이
And so I would
지원을
like to see some
받음으로써
updates so that
적어도
all
내가
students can receive the
대학원에
same amount of
들어왔을 때는
stipend, so that
하루
at
한
least
끼
when they
걱정을
join the
안
graduate
하면서
school, they
연구에
don't have to worry
집중해야
about
되는데
paying
지금
for their
사정은 그렇지
meals and
않습니다.
can
그래서
focus on their
이
research.
철저하게 이게
Because I have
어디서부터
seen
고쳐야
cases
될지는
where that is not the
모르지만은
case.
그러한 것들이 가장 필요로 하는
So what we need the
시스템이고
most
그게
is an
하루아침에
update of our stipend system.
되기는
And I know that we
어렵겠죠.
can't make these
어렵겠지만은
changes in just a day.
그런 것들을 인지하셔서
But I think
좀
it's important that our
열심히
three candidates are
노력했으면
aware of these
좋겠다라는
issues
생각이
and
듭니다.
work towards
극단적으로
improving
학생들
it.
중에 이제 부자인
And in
전자공학과
some
AI에
cases,
있는
extreme
학생
cases,
대학원생하고
if you compare the
저
students
가난한
in
학과에
electrical
있는
engineering and a student
학생들하고
in a
다르거든요.
department with
근데
less
우리가
with
AI
a lower
전자만 하는
with
게
less
아니지
money,
않습니까?
it's very
수학과든
different.
화학과든
If you look at their
비슷하게 하기
stipend.
때문에 적어도 대학원생. 뭐 포스닥들은
So,
월급이 달라도 상관없습니다. 그
I think
능력이나
for postdocs,
마켓에
the
의한
stipend can be
결정되는
different based on
문제지만
their abilities. But I
학생들만큼은
think for the students, at
그게
least,
국비든
for and for
과비원이든
graduate students,
다
regardless of
똑같이
whether they are on the KAIST
지원을 할
scholarship
수
or the
있는
government
그런
scholarship,
시스템을 꼭 갖춰줘야만
I believe they
카이스트가
need to have a
근본적으로
system where
도전을
they can
도약을
receive the
하기
same
위해서는
amount
그런
of
인적 시스템
support.
그다음에 물리
We need
어떤
again we
지원할
need
수 있는
that
기술적인 시스템
technical
이런
professional
것들이 합리적으로 절차를 거쳐서
personnel
한다면은
support, and we also
장기적으로
need
봤을
to
때는
increase
훨씬
the
더
stipend. And I think in the
도약을 할
long
수
term,
있을 거야. 그리고
improving
20년
on
어느
these
교수가
areas
왔을
will
때
lead
임대식
to
교수님이 그때
will
얘기한
help
임대식
KAIST make
교수가
greater
얘기한
leaps in
거하고
the
지금하고
future.
차이가 없다라고
I don't
얘기를 안 했으면 좋겠어요.
want
그 이후에
professors
새
who join
총장님들이
now
나오셔서
look
많은
back in 20 years and say,
변화를 느꼈다라고 하는 것들을
I don't really see a
꼭
big difference in the amount of
이루어졌으면
support that
하는 게
that I
제
receive from
바람입니다.
KAIST and
거기에 대해서 어떤
the
안이 있으면은
the support
과감하게
that the new
토론할
faculty are
준비를
receiving.
지원을 하겠습니다. 감사합니다.
Thank you.
Professor Im, if and I feel like it would have been great if you could also be a candidate running for this presidential election, since you have given this like sharp question. So I am Park Soo-kyung from the mechanical engineering. So in the KAIST agenda, as you know, I don't know how I could express it, but like should we like improve their treatment, starting from like a stipend as well as TA? And so this KAIST agenda is something that our professors has been building up over the past 6 months. And in but I feel like there were not that many information about how our presidential candidates think about how they could improve the treatment of these graduate students. So this is part of the research support issue as well as the educational support issue as well. So regarding that, we could have a debate on that. So I believe that there is an international faculty member sitting at the back. I don't know your name, so can you?
Would I like to give some comments?
Any questions you'd like to ask to the candidates? First of all, introduce yourself.
Oh yes, I'm. If I 한국말 아니면 영어로.
So I will try to speak in English.
May I use English for a minute? Yeah. So my name's David Churchill, and I've been working at KAIST for 20 years actually, and I'm very happy working in the Department of Chemistry. I love teaching, and the research is going quite well. There are challenges, but I think I'm always, whenever I ask, I get some help from somebody at some point. Every time is different. So yeah, I just really enjoy living and being here. I don't really have any main concerns. I've been working with trying to, as well as Martin. Maybe people know Martin in the Department of Computer Science. So yeah, certain foreign faculty have been very active in trying to organize them as a unit. But I think it's quite important for foreign faculty to be really plugged in to each department, without needing that much support. So if we can head in that direction, we're doing well, but let's keep going. So thanks. That's it.
Right, thank you so much.
저 줌에서 질문해도 될까요?
So may I
들리시나요?
ask a question through Zoom? Can you please introduce yourself first? And
예,
then
안녕하세요. 저 전기미 전자공학부의 이현주입니다.
I'm Lee-Hyunju
세 분
from
모두
Mechanical
존경하는 분들이 나와주셔서 너무
Department.
감사드리고요.
I would
제
like to thank
질문은
all three
카이스트가
presidential
연구중심
candidates because
대학으로서
for
지금까지
running
많은
for
성장을
this election.
이루었는데
And over the
이제
past years,
교육부사나
KAIST
대학들도
has
이제 모두
been
연구중심
growing
대학으로 급격하게 변화하고 있고
astonishingly.
추격을 하고 있는 상황입니다. 신임교원이랑 학생 포닥 유치에서 이제는
So
큰
when it comes
경쟁
to
상대가 되었는데요. 국내
attracting these new
대학들도.
faculty members and the
국내에서의 카이스트의
postdoctors,
역할이 어떤 거라고
I
생각하시는지,
want to
그리고
ask you,
신임교원 및
what's the
우수교원
KAIST role
유치를
within
위해서 이제
the
카이스트의
universities here
차별화된
in
전략이
Korea,
어떤 것들이
and what's
있는지
KAIST's differentiated strategies for
궁금하고요.
attracting
또한
those
이런
top
지역
tiers
배경 때문에
talents?
저희의 지역적 한계가 저는 더 크게
But
다가오고
I
있다고 생각을
believe
합니다.
that
그래서
our
30대, 40대
geographical
교수님들은 정말 무한 경쟁을 하고
hurdles.
계시거든요. 그래서 이런 분들에게 카이스트 메리트 어떤 게 있는지,
So what
지역적
would
한계를
be some
극복할
of
수 있는 전략을
the strategies how we could
감사합니다.
overcome this geographical issues and the hurdles that we have along the way? Yes, so she has asked about the geographical limitations because since we are located in Daejeon. So any other questions? So then, now we are going to get the questions from our deans.
예. 전기및 전자공학부장 유승엽입니다.
My name is Lee
그
Seung-yeop
이현주 교수님도
from the
말씀하셨지만
School
세
of
분 모두
Electrical
진짜
Engineering,
존경하는
and as what Professor
분들인데
Lee-Hyunju
이렇게 학교를
said,
위해서
all these candidates are
봉사를
someone who I
해주시려고
respect, and you
나와주셔서
have
너무
been,
감사드리고요.
serving our
어떻게 하다
school.
보니까 세 분 모두 굉장히 큰 과에
And it happens to be that
교수님들이신데
you are all the
결국
professors
이제 우리
from big
학교에는
departments and
다양한
big schools.
규모의 학과도 있고
But as you
프로그램도
know, in our
있는데요.
school there
뭐
are
어떤 일을
various
하시든지
sizes of
그
departments
구성원들을 다
and
이렇게
degree
이끌고
programs.
하나된
Then
방향으로
how are you
가는 게
going
정말
to lead
중요하리라고
all
생각을
these
합니다.
different
그래서 이
sizes
세
of
분께서
departments and
그렇게
programs
융화를
in one
이끌어내고
direction? So how
또
are you going to bring
어떤 때는
out
선택과 집중, 또 어떤
harmony
때는
along these
균형
departments?
발전을
And how
잘
are you going to
안배하면서
achieve this
이끌어 나가실 수
balanced
있는지
growth?
그런 이제 리더십에 대한 부분을
So that is one
말씀해
question
주시면 좋을
regarding
것
your
같습니다.
leadership. So there has been a lot of questions from big departments. So if there's any question from the professors that you think that you consider that you're from small departments, then it would be great. Does everyone think that they are from big departments? So there is this one who's trying to ask a question from the back.
저 기계과는 두 번째로 큰 겁니다. 참고로.
Hello, I am from Mechanical Engineering. We are the second
지난번도
biggest
말씀을
department at
드렸는데
KAIST.
그때 이제 생각나는 것 중에
Nonetheless,
하나가
so one question I wanted to
우리가
ask
항상
is,
햇볕만 바라보고 있을 것 같지는 않고 뭔가
I think we
우리
won't only
잘 알죠.
be
윈터 이즈 커밍인 것
looking at
같은데
the sun because, as you say, there's a saying that winter is coming.
총장이 되시면
So if you become the president
맞이하게
of
될지도
KAIST,
모르는 그런 가장 위기가 뭔지
what do you
그거에
think
대해서
is the
우리가
biggest
어떻게
challenge that you will
돌파해
face, and
나가야 되는지
how will
좀 말씀해
KAIST
주시면 좋을 것 같고요.
win over that
두 번째는
challenge? Also, I would like to
카이스트가
ask,
굉장히 학문의 유행에는 굉장히 잘 올라타는 것
I
같아요.
think KAIST is very good at following
근데
academic trends.
우리나라를 위해서 우리가 지켜야 될 학문들도 있는
But
걸로
there
알고
are
있어요.
certain
사실은 뭐
academic fields that we need
자연과학들도
to
있을
safekeep
거고
for the
또 우리
future of KAIST. For
전통적인
example, in
공대도
the
있을
natural
거고
sciences and the
과연
traditional
그냥 그걸 버리고
engineering
그냥
fields.
앞으로 전진해야 되는 게
So will we
맞느냐?
just leave these behind
아니면
and go forward, or
우리나라의 과학이나 밸런스를 위해서
for the
우리가 그걸
balance
지켜야
for
되느냐?
Korea and for
뭐
the balance of science,
정말
will
포기해야 될 것도
we
있긴 있겠죠. 하는 그런 생각을 좀
protect
듣고
it all
싶습니다.
and go
네,
forward? So I would like to know your thoughts on this.
안녕하세요. 저희
Hello.
기계공학과
I
김성수입니다.
am Kim Sung-soo
세
from
모두
Mechanical
제가
Engineering.
정말로 존경하시는
And
분이고
all
오늘
three
개인적으로도
professors I
인사드렸던
highly
분들이라서
respect, and
너무
I know
감사드리고요.
each of you
학교를
personally,
위해서
so it's a great honor. And
봉사하기 위해서 이
I'd like
자리에
to thank
이렇게
you
앉아 계신 세
for
분께
running
무한한 존경을
as
표합니다. 먼저.
candidates
네.
to serve
그
KAIST.
제가 머릿속에 갑자기 이렇게 마이크를 잡아가지고 질문을
And
어떤 거를
so
드려야 될지
I'm
뭐
not
머릿속으로
wasn't
생각은
really
하고 있었는데 지금
prepared to ask
정리가
a
안 되고
question.
있긴 한데요. 갑자기 머리가 하얘진 것 같은데.
So my head is a little blank right now.
제 생각엔 맞다. 그러니까 최근에 아까 어떤 교수님께서 말씀을 하셨는데
And as one professor
카이스트가
said
뭐 위기다.
before,
앞으로
they
이제
say
뭐
that KAIST,
마찬가지로 경쟁하고
we will
있는
face
그런
a crisis or
학교들도 있고
challenge,
다양한 뭐
and there
전
are
세계적으로
so
학교들도
many
많은데
changes, and there
제
are a lot of competitors at
개인적으로는
home and
카이스트가 한
abroad.
단계 더 도약을 하기
For
위해서는
KAIST to really
우리가 지금까지도
take the
계속
next step forward,
노력해왔던 그런 국제화
I think we need to focus
사실
working on
그런 국제화에
internationalization.
있어가지고 제가 제일 걸림돌이라고 생각하는
I think the
부분이 언어
biggest issue
장벽이거든요.
is the language
저희도 뭐
barrier.
당연히 뭐 유럽이나 아니면 미국에
And
있는
of course,
그런 훌륭한 학생들이 충분히 여기 와서
we,
연구할 수
you
있고
know,
공부할
the
수 있는
outstanding
그런 환경이
students
됐으면
in the
좋겠는데
European countries
그러한
or
어떤 여러 가지
from the United States
걸림돌들을
can come to
극복할
KAIST
수
to
있는
study, but
그런 의견들이 있으시면
I
듣고
think there
싶습니다.
are still
네,
some
감사합니다.
barriers for them. So how do you think we can get rid of these language barriers?
예, 안녕하세요. 저는 화학과의 윤동기.
Hello, I'm Yoon Dong-gi from chemistry, and
10년밖에 안 돼가지고요. 아직 잘은 모르지만
I've only been at KAIST for 10 years, so
위원으로서
I don't know a lot,
이제 아젠다
but
관련해가지고
regarding
6개월 이상
the
교수님들이랑 협의를 하면서 이제
agenda
아까 전에 이제 임대식 교수님
for the presidential candidates, I've talked with the professors a lot.
프로페셔널 리서처
And
같은 경우에 랩에서
so when it comes to professional
얼마만큼 이제
researchers,
도와주는 외국의 미국이나 이런 데는
if you look at the
자연계
United
중심으로
States
해서
or
이제
other
그런 분들이 굉장히
universities,
많아서 이제 엑셀런시
they're-
학생의 줄어듦에도 불구하고 엑셀런시를 유지할 수 있는
they can maintain their excellency because they have these professional researchers in the lab. And what our committee members have just talked about is that in certain departments they have very good professional researchers, but in other departments
거의 필요가 없다.
they don't really need the professional
마찬가지로
researchers.
중앙 파실리티 같은 경우에도
And for the central
특정학과 같은
facility,
경우에는
some
코어
departments
파실리티가 학과에 있는 경우에는
have their
굉장히
own core
좋지만
facilities, and
코어
it's very good,
파실리티가
but
무슨 소용이냐?
then
하는 학과가
some
있는 것처럼
other departments would say
리소스의
they don't really
분배가
need the
굉장히
core
중요할 것 같은데요.
facilities. So
실제로
I think it's important how we divide the
팀장님이
resources at KAIST.
휘두를 수 있는 일종의
And
그런 예산이
if there,
아주 크지 않은 걸로 알고
from what
있습니다.
I know, the budget
물론
that the
이제
president can
모든
use
그
for
아젠다가
facilities
굉장히 중요한
and
토픽 중에 하나인데
the
저
professional
같은
researchers
경우에는
is not very big.
후보님들께서 정말 존경하는 후보님들께서 가장
So
중요하게 생각하는
what
그러니까
in this aspect,
예산이
what is the most
필수되어야 되는
important
그런
factor
사업
do
중에
you think? What
가장
so which project do you think should
중요하게
would be your
생각하시는
top
부분이
priority
어떤
when it
건지
comes
한번
to allocating
여쭤보고 싶습니다.
the budget that the president can use? So I think we are having a lot of questions about setting priorities.
네, 안녕하십니까. 전산학부 고인영입니다.
Hello, I'm Ko In-young from Computer Science. So Computer Science is a very big department, but I think I'm the only professor from CS. So I would like to give you a question. So in AI and computer science is a very hot field right now, and we have many students applying to our department, and so we need a lot of demand. We have a lot of demand for classes, and classes are often have more than 100 students, and so it's a lot of work for our professors. And due to these issues of having a lot of students, and that this imbalance, I want to know what your plans are to deal with these kind of imbalances. And our professors. So another issue is our professors want to do a lot of research as we are growing bigger, but then there is a limit as to the graduate student TO. So even if the professors want to do more research and want to have more graduate students, they can't take on more students. So how could we perhaps we could have a more flexible way to bring in students, or if there is a way for us to adjust the TO, I would like to know. All right, so if you are online, you can also ask questions. Hello, I would like to ask a question. Hello, I am Kim Lan-woo from the Digital Humanities and Social Sciences. My question is, so we have a very big, we are very big in terms of size, but I don't think we're very low. When I tell them what department I am in at KAIST, they ask me, so what does a humanities professor do at KAIST? And I have that same question. So I would like to ask the candidates also what you think the role of the humanities department is. It would be great if the candidates can give us an answer. All right, next question.
앉아서 해도 되겠죠? 예. 예, 안녕하세요. 저는
Hello.
여기 3년 여기 온 지 3년.
I think it's been about 3 years since I've joined
교수님하고
KAIST. I am an adjunct professor at
근데 이제
BTM.
형용준이라고.
I am Hyung-yong-jun.
이제 저는 여기 87년도에 학부 입학을 한 이후로
And I
여기서
was a
줄곧,
KAIST student,
석사하고
and I did my
박사과정도
master's here and my
수료를
PhD,
했는데요. 학위는 이제 딴 데서
and I
했습니다.
received my
근데
final degree elsewhere.
저희 연구실이나
So
저희
in
옆에
my
연구실들에서
lab, but in my
넥슨
neighboring
창업이 일어나고
labs,
네오위즈, 크래프톤, 싸이월드
there are things like
일어났는데요.
I've
이제
seen Nexon, Krafton, all of those
그때에
things
비해서 이제
happening
규모는
at
학교가
KAIST,
굉장히
and
크신 반면
although we have grown
굉장히
in
좀
size,
경직됐다는
I feel
걸
that
많이
still
보게 되었습니다.
our
그리고
culture
이제
is very
그래서
strict.
크게 두 가지 기둥이 중요하다 보는데요.
So I think there are two pillars that are
하나는
very important. One is
연구 쪽이고 하나는
research,
창업 쪽인데
and one is
연구를 예를
startups.
들면
So for research,
저희 나라가 그때 비하면은 국력이나 경제력, 국방력
so at that
워낙
time,
강했기 때문에
so
이제는
Korea's
기초과학에 대한
economic power
투자와
or
노벨상
defense has become
기술을
very strong. So I think
전폭적인 혁신이
now
필요하다
we
보는데
need more research support
지금 좀
for the
그런
Nobel
것과는 좀
Prize
거리가
worthy
다른
research.
쪽으로 디테일한 제도가 더 발전되지
So I would like to have some more detailed
그리고 이제
support
요즘 뉴스에 많이 나오지만
coming in place
저희
for that.
나라
And
정년제도 교수들 정년제도 때문에
second is the
석학들이
retirement age for
해외로 다 나가고
professors.
있다. 이런
Because of the
얘기가
retirement
있지
age, we
않습니까?
see many
그래서 그런 거 관련
outstanding
있거든요.
professors leaving
두
Korea
번째
and going
창업인데
overseas. So that's another issue.
저희
The second
때도
big issue I'll
창업을
talk
이렇게
about is
달가워하는 분위기는
startups.
아니었어요.
So when I
왜냐면
first came
연구
to KAIST,
중심의 교육기관이다
I think when I was a
보니까.
student, people weren't
근데
very
이제 카이스트의
open about
총동원
startups
회장님
because they were more focused on
명규
studying and
의원님
research.
말씀대로
But
카이스트가 진짜 발전하고
for KAIST to truly
지속
grow
가능하려면 서울공대처럼
and to be sustainable,
학부동문회나
we
어떤
need to
동문회가
have
성공을 많이 해서
we need to see a lot of success in our alumni
스탠포드처럼
and then
많이
receive
해야 이게
donations from our
선순환이
alumni,
되는데
like in the case
이제
of
그런
Stanford.
쪽으로 체계적인 흐름이 너무
So we need
약하다.
so there's
그래서 그런
but we don't have that kind
재반해야
of
된다. 이런
cycle at KAIST. So we
그래서
want
이제
to bring that in.
창업이 사실은 연구를 더
So
실용화시키고
I think startup is a way to
아니면 노벨상으로도 더
commercialize research, or it could even become the basis of winning a Nobel Prize. And to build a startup, it's actually research is very important, and it can become the foundation for something even greater.
거기 보면은 이제 대만
So
출신들의
in some of my work, I have worked with the scientists and the entrepreneurs from Taiwan, and what was really great was that we worked with the government, the Taiwan government, and so the United States, they had this very streamlined system so that when it comes in terms of visa and other things, it was very easy for the Taiwanese researchers to go to the United States and do research. So although KAIST is known very well for its startups, we don't have that kind of flexibility.
그 연구실에서 창업이 일어나면
So if there is a startup in a lab,
연구 실적을 이용하는 거라면
and if we are using our research outcomes for that startup, I think we could find ways for that, for the benefits to go back to the researchers. We could create this kind of virtuous cycle. But because that is not possible, we've had some negative issues happen at KAIST.
이제 그런 것도 좀 더 양성화해서
And I think if we could create a better system where research and startups are not on opposite sides, but rather if they can work together, if we could build that kind of system, and if you could set up the details for that, that would be great. And I would like to hear your opinions on this.
So I'm going to take one more question and then move on to the next stage of today's Q&A session.
네, 안녕하세요. 저는 신소재공학과 조은혜라고 합니다.
I'm Chone from Advanced Material Science, Engineering Sciences, and I would like to thank all three presidential candidates for your hard commitment. And I want one of you to get selected as president.
세분 교수님께서 이제 말씀하신 발전 방향이나 이런 것들에
So,
대해서 대략 이제 비슷한 방향성을 가지고 계신 것으로
and it seems like all three presidential candidates have like basic directions that are quite the same. But can you talk about in detail of like you are going to do this within your time as president, or the things that you want to get rid of as your time as president? And it'd be great if you could share that plans with us. And the second thing is that, there were a lot of, professors who were interested and who gave a lot of good opinions through this session. Since we had held our first Q&A session last time, and this is our second one. And it feels like, we do this only like every 4 years, every time we have this like presidential election candidate. But I wish that if we could have this more regularly, that would be great. So I have a question of how you could, communicate with our professors as well as the students much more regularly. So you're kind of like asking and saying that it would be great if we could have some kind of like town hall meeting much more regularly in a big size format. So there were a lot of, questions from the floor, but it seems like, there were not that many questions regarding education. So it'd be great if you could ask something regarding education.
카이스트 교육원장 김필란입니다.
My name is Kim Pil-lam.
이거는 그냥 농담으로 드리는 말씀은 아니고요. 그러니까 저는 처음 이렇게 교육원에서 학교에 있는 교육 인프라를 어떻게 지원하는지를 알게
So
됐는데 이번
I kind of like learned how I could, provide infrastructure in terms of education here in our school, as I am being the director of this KAIST Academy.
지원 시스템을 돌린다든지 특히 MIT라든지
But when it comes to this education system, if we compare with MIT or SNU,
다양한 툴이나 이런 환경 변화를 교육에 적용하기 위해서 굉장히 많은 것들을 보여주고 있습니다.
we're showing a lot of, like education system that we graft with this AI technology. But when it comes to digital humanities and social sciences department, we feel like there's a lot of like lacking points, even though we put in a lot of our utmost efforts.
과연 우리가 과거에 만들어 놓은 교육들이 정말 맞는지.
So I have a question that is it all right to continue on with the education tools and the systems that we have for the students that we had in the past in this ever-changing environment?
정말 절실하게 고민을 해봐야 되는데.
And I believe this is a time that we need to think about this, because our students have been exposed to a lot of like private educations and to the private institutes and the tutorings, and then they're kind of exposed to these like large size like curriculum and classes. And I believe that we need something that is much more tailored to these like ever-changing like trending education system.
학생들을 우리가 좋은 학생을 받아서 그대로 내어보내는 게 아니라 좋은
even
학생을 최고의 학생으로
and I think it is our
발판을
role
마련하는
to
게 대학이기
lay the
때문에
foundation for the top tier students, not just to come into our university, but also graduate as the top tier students who could be produced out into the world. So it'd be great if we could, share some of your thoughts and strategies for that. So until now, we've been receiving a lot of questions, and we have talked about so many different areas. But if we kind of like sum it up into two big areas, one is that can KAIST be the top tier university globally and also have that research and education support system? And how are we supporting in terms of startups as well? So I think it is related to this international competitiveness. And then I think all these questions are linked. And also, there are a lot of questions regarding this cultural aspect. One is that the relationship between the departments and how the resources can be divided between these different departments, as well as the females' roles and their frames, and as well as for the international faculty members as well. So over the past 50 years, KAIST has this great culture, but how are we going to make it better? So these are the two main questions I believe that came out from the floor. So I would give 4 minutes each to each presidential candidate. If we do it 5, it'd be too long. So can I start first? So a lot of professors gave a lot of questions, and they're very precious questions. I believe that each question can be discussed for more than 1 hour, but something that you have provided all the directions. I deeply agree with you for that. But if I go into much deeper level as a president, how I should approach that is that, and I don't believe that the president himself can just move and shake the school, because there are roughly 10,000 staff members as well as students, and listening to their voices, sharing our vision and communicating with them, and creating our own campus is something that we need to do. And of course, there will be senior vice presidents, deans, as well as the that I would try to communicate with them, and I should not be. And if I give answer to one question, so I've spent a lot of time. I'm going to spend a lot of time to set up the vision and share with our professors, so that I could be much very transparent and communicate with our professors. And I would give my authority to our deans as well as the ABP, so that they could align with our big visions, because a lot of things that were discussed today cannot be done alone by the president, and I believe that that is something that we could all do all together. And the second thing is that I don't quite remember this professor from the Department of Chemistry, and asked about how I'm going to prioritize in terms of budget. And I feel like the president is someone who could set the direction, and someone who could, bring in the resources and encourage our professors to go forward together. And I believe that is the role of being a president. And the weapon that the president can have is that how we can gain trust from our public people. And also, when it comes to the KAIST budget, it is something that the KAIST budget cannot do alone. And also, there's this for in terms of this a human resources authority. That is something what the dean has. So it is something that I should be orchestrating. So I think the most important thing is bring in the financial resources, and as well as build up the infrastructures. So if we have the budget, then there's a lot of things that could be settled. So if I should prioritize, I can say that it is kind of like my hobby to bring in the financial resources. I bring in roughly 10 billion Korean won every year. So it is the easiest thing, and I could share my know-how with you. And I believe that it would be my role as the president. And if I should prioritize it, as what Professor Im Dae-sik has said, he is meeting me in every 4 years, and has a lot of concerns in first schools as well. But I should prioritize it over to our students. And the second is for our research. And if you look at Kara, I believe that we are spending roughly 10 billion won every year, and a lot of experts are being utilized. So when it comes to this basic materials, or the equipment as well as these experts are very important. And the third thing is the professors. Like, so even if we want to hire good professors, we do not have enough space. And so lastly, I would like to talk about this like environment and also Professor Kim Pil-nam, and there was this one female professor who asked a question. So all I can say is that I will try to be all ears and listen to your voices, and we'll try to respect your voices. And if I should be think of it as the agenda, I want us to grow together. So if we want to, and there will be like invited professors, and there should be like female professors. So regardless of their sex, I'm going to see whether all these like professors can, share my vision and to grow together. And when it comes to child birth, child care, when it comes to evaluation or to the duties, I will not try to, differentiate the people. So I would try to bring a lot of, budgets. So I want to do everything that you want to do together.
All right. Hello. So I would like to thank you for your wonderful questions and comments. And I think the agenda of the Faculty Council has a lot of power and is meaningful. For the past 6 months, our professors have worked bottom up, and we have collected these agendas with the bottom up efforts of our professors. So I think I can share more of my thoughts at my Q&A session this Thursday. And I think the first is very important. And so the agenda, so thanks to that agenda, I think our professors might have felt that really our agendas are becoming very similar, and we have and we cover a lot of similar ground. So I believe that this is, we share that this is really the direction that our school needs to go towards. And so whoever will become the president, this agenda will stay with us. And so, to briefly go over some of the questions, when it comes to supporting international faculty and women faculty, I believe that, right from the beginning, we had a female faculty asking questions. And I think the power and the leadership of our female faculty is already very strong, but we do need some time. So for the full-time faculty, they don't even make up 10% of the faculty. So female faculty, and they are very busy, and they attend a lot of committee meetings as well. So I would like to thank them. And I think that in the next 5 years, we will have more female faculty, and KAIST will be able to have more diversity and power, and the same goes for international faculty. Going on to the use of research equipment, yes, this is something that continuously keeps coming up, and it has come up in a lot of our discussions, and also today. And when I, left KAIST after my studies and went to Harvard, even though I had a little bit of shortcomings, but what I was really impressed was that they had that professional researchers working on the equipment. So they had these wonderful researchers helping out with the equipment and the labs. So as Professor Im Dae-sik said before, so in the 90s, compared to the 90s, I believe that these kind of systems have not changed. So I feel sorry for the current KAIST students, and that is one of the things that I want to change. And lastly, coming to culture. So Professor Yoo Sung-yup and Professor Kim Jong-ho are the department heads of the biggest departments at KAIST, and I would like to thank them for their inclusiveness. And I am also in a very big department, and I've also served as the Vice President for Student Affairs with Professor Yoo Sung-yup. And as Professor Kim Pil-nam said before, when it comes to, there are some stereotypes when it comes to what kind of roles that female faculty are expected to play. But when it comes to us working together as Vice President for Student Affairs, we put in a lot of work to make sure that the COVID virus did not spread at the beginning of the Corona era. And I know that there are still some stereotypes and some discrimination, but I think KAIST is already beyond that point. And so whoever becomes the president, We need to bring together the work that we have done to go on to the next stage. Thank you. Thank you. So if I talk for 4 minutes, it will be 12:59. So I am in charge of finishing this before 1 p.m. So the first question, I think I should answer the first question first from the Female Faculty Council. And was there a frame against female faculty? The fact that this question arose means that there was a frame, because I think if there were none, then this question would not have come out in the first place. So we have when you talk about the core faculty and the core departments and the core academic roles, I think the female faculty have mostly been asked to serve in the student affairs positions or the humanities positions. And before, when we had even less female faculty, the female faculty played enormous roles. And I think even back then, we already had that frame. But now we have more than 100 female faculty. And I think perhaps it is time that we have to get rid of that discrimination or those stereotypes that still unconsciously exist. And so there are two parts where, so first of all, you want gender equality, but then when it comes to the actual meetings or the Board of Trustees meetings, there's a certain ratio of female faculty that is required. So actually, female faculty, they have a lot more work is given to them, but at the same time, there's no advantages for them. So we want a female faculty I believe that a female faculty will naturally be appointed to a central position, but also, again, I think we need to make a conscious effort to see more female faculty in major roles. And so I think what our ultimate goal is to see the closing down of the inclusivity committee. So we need to create a world where we don't even need the inclusivity committee because we are fully inclusive. And so when I say that I want to build a strong foundation, they ask me, what do you mean by that? And what that means is, as Professor Hyun said, the students, when I came to KAIST as a TA, I saw the first enrolled students at KAIST, and later on, I think they really showed that potential and those dreams that they had. And now, actually, KAIST is very big, but then at the same time, I think I see actually lower pride, and I feel like they are more confined within the restraints of the school. So I think I want to make a system where students have a strong foundation and strong basics, and can go out and do bigger things. So in the past, I have seen, for example, so at KAIST, for example, for students, if they need to learn the basics of management. So if they go out and if they want to work in a startup, or if they go and work in a company, people won't say, oh, they can't do this because they don't have any managerial skills. I think it's important to give them that training. And for terms of budget, the reason I said that I want to put that budget on the students' lab fees is because I want to give students the opportunities to do a lot of exams and also participate in the discussions and the debates leading up to that, and also learn how to use the equipment. So we want to make students who are good at communication, and they have a strong foundation, and also have that courage and that drive to achieve their goals. And so my first priority for budget is education. But the biggest limit is that we receive our budget from part of our budget comes from the government. But when it comes to the graduate school studies and for research, I think I want to bring in more investment from companies. I think we need to bring in more private investment and create this system of communication between the school and the companies, and that will help us bring in more budget. I will talk more in our discussion session. Thank you. All right, thank you for the wonderful questions, and thank you for the wonderful talks. So tomorrow we have this similar meeting in Seoul, and I believe that it will be very dynamic and fun. So thank you